Hello, Maud. This is Ray Bone, your lobbyist. I just wanted to do a quick update today. I actually have a kind of a free day. Something unusual for this time of session. We have 3 days away from the legislature, in that all the GOPers are at the state convention in Rochester. So as a result, basically the legislature is pretty much shut down. I think there's one meeting that I can see on the calendar. So that gives us a tough time to take a little breather and also then report back to you folks as to what's going on. And in terms of what's going on, I think I can say not much. There's a lot of smoke, but not much fire. Um, we spent the last week in conference committees with the Environment and Natural Resources Finance Bill and Policy Bill, and they're doing a lot of talking. It must have been 15, 16 hours of talking. I think the only decision they made is to agree on the same and similar language, and that's basically what that means. Is they're agreeing on language that's the same or very very similar in both bills, and that's kind of a standard motion to make by one body or the other once the bill has been reviewed. But anyway, we're facing major uphill battles on that bill. Uh, just to give you a little idea how far apart they are, the Senate has about $8.5 million of spending in their bill, and in the House bill, it's 249 million. So there's a lot of difference. Uh, some of the difference is made up in other bills, though. They just decided to take maybe the money from LCMR for some of the programs and to take it out of the general fund. So, so there's a lot, overall, there's more money in play than that on the Senate side. You just don't see it in this bill. So at some point, they're going to have to make a decision what they're going to do. They have had some very cordial meetings, and I have to admit that the tenor of the meetings has been much more civil than I thought it was going to be honest with you, because these two chairs have a history of clashing somewhat on some of these issues. But the conference committees so far appear to have been very thoughtful. One of the problems we're running into, though, frankly, is we're running out of time. Just in terms of being able to process the bill and get it back, even if it's agreed on. I mean, you pretty much have to have the bills wrapped up, but I would say by Wednesday night, maybe Thursday at the latest, in order to be able to process the bills, because all the bills have to be agreed to and signed, or have to have passed both bodies and be on their way to the governor by well noon. I'm sorry, midnight on Sunday. The session ends on the 23rd of May, but they can't process any paperwork or legislation on the 23rd, so they have to be done by midnight on that Sunday. So I think they got a pretty good challenge ahead of them. Then, in addition to that, the rumors around the Capitol are that half the staff in the House have COVID. So a lot of people are not there, or they haven't been there. Actually, some of them for a long time, but aren't able to work effectively because of the COVID issue and them being stricken with it. So there's lots of challenges, and frankly, um, I don't know how they can get their work done, considering the disparities in the two bills. It's not just our bill. There's a number of bills like that. So the bonding bill, we haven't even heard anything on. So unless they're working behind the scenes, I mean, it hasn't even, as far as I know, hasn't even been introduced yet. I mean, there's been bills introduced, but not the final bill, which is to delete everything to the bill that's standing there. Um, but but I think they certainly anticipate there will be a bill. Now, the governor has indicated he's not going to call a special session if they don't get their work done. They got to get their work done, and to be honest with you, there's nothing they really need for the government to continue running smoothly. So, um, the tax bill, there's a big differential between those two bills. The House wants to spend more money. or they're not given as much money back as the Senate is, and it's kind of the same old storyline, just updated 2 years. Um, but anyway, there's just a lot of decisions that have to be made yet, and we're getting to the point that even if they can make the decisions, they got to make them in a hurry, or there will be no bill, or bills, to say the least. The our A couple of things we're following, have been following, is the general levy increase. That unfortunately went by the wayside. Was never ever heard in the House. I was told that the House Democrats didn't want anything to do with it, so it just was not heard. And then on the Senate side, we did have a hearing in the Environment um, Policy Committee, and it actually got a pretty good reception. But when it went to Personal Property Tax Division, and just we could not secure a hearing there. So anyway, that's where that's at. The other thing is, um, this that popped up later in the session, is this drainage registry, which a lot of you folks I know are quite concerned with. Our position, when that came up and when it was heard in the House, was that it should go to the drainage work group at a minimum, to have them review it and make recommendations back to the legislature. But the chair of the House Environment Committee didn't want to wait, so they put it in the bill, and uh, gave it some money. I think a couple $100,000 for Bowser to operate it. And the Senate doesn't know about, has not reviewed that bill at all, or there was, I don't know if it was even, there was a companion bill in the Senate or not. But anyway, there's going to be some arguments about that for sure. That's going to be one of our hot items, and I think at a minimum, we need to have that sent down to the drainage work group, and have the drainage work group report back to the legislature on what their recommendations would be with such a registry. But clearly, that registry is fraught with problems and issues, about time delays, and about who can impact. I mean, do we want people from uh, Upper New York writing in and complaining about a drainage ditch in Beltrami County? I mean, I don't think we do. But anyway, those are the sorts of things, I think, questions that just hasn't been vetted enough to know what it is that we're buying. I know a lot of people would like to get their hands on that information so that they could do whatever they could to obstruct drainage, agricultural drainage. But that obviously would not be good for the ditch owners, and it wouldn't be good for the state's economy as well. I mean, there's always more you can do, I suppose, but I think the drainage practices have improved pretty well, frankly, over the last 10 years. And we are making progress, and I hopefully this won't derail that process. It's kind of one of those bad ideas whose time has come. That's the way I view it. Again, the bonding bill, we have, I think, $47 million we're asking for with through the Red Board. We'll see what happens with that. I think the number on the bonding bill is going to be upwards or close to $2 billion would be my guess, maybe 1.8, something like that. But again, we haven't seen anything, so it's hard to know what's going to happen in the end. I know the governor doesn't, at least not publicly, is not pushing hard. He's not beating anybody over the head yet to get this work done. But he did say a few weeks ago he's not calling a special session. So anyway, that's where we're at. One other thing you may be interested in, the capacity funding for the SWCDs was put into the House bill, not so much in the Senate bill. The Senate took a little different approach, which is never going to work. But anyway, but the straight allocation of money from the general fund of the $22 million to the SWCDs is in the House tax bill, and I know they're working hard to see if they can secure that funding. And Representative Marquardt, who's the chair of that committee, certainly understands what they are and how they operate and all that. So I think it's got probably a little better than even chance of passing. We certainly hope so, because of that $22 million, I know one time I did kind of a back of the envelope calculation, and with that money not being available for programming, conservation programming and water conservation restoration programs and things like that, our opportunity to receive grant funding actually dropped about 16 to 17 million of that 22 million. That's what I estimated. So that's a pretty good hunk of money that should be going into our programming and is going for capacity funding. Well, obviously we need to keep the SWCs alive and functioning, but the funding ought to come from somewhere besides the Clean Water Fund. And they would be the first to agree with that. It's just we have to really keep pushing that, I guess. So hopefully we can do that. One of the things too, it looks like we're losing our two Environment Committee chairs in the Senate. Senator Engelbritson is retiring, and now Senator Ruud from Pequot Lakes, Brainerd area, she announced that she's retiring. And that was, I think, primarily, she basically got redistricted out of her district, and she retained a little bit of it, but thrown in with another Republican Senator Eichhorn. And I think she just decided that was enough. And I know I talked to Senator Eakin. He's another very good friend of Watershed District from Moorhead, Mahnomen County. He is retiring as well. And I talked to him the other day, and he just said, he's been around 20 years. In fact, I used to work with his dad when his dad was in the legislature. And he just said he's 20 years. He thought it was time to move on to something else in his life, and certainly the grandkids come and that sort of thing. You just your priorities change, and I don't blame anybody. Certainly, the 20 years he's put in has been a tremendous sacrifice for Kent and his family. So anyway, that's one of the things we forget is that these people are a lot for the large majority of them away from their families 5-6 months out of the year. And it's a tremendous sacrifice for the family. But anyway, pardon me. So I am getting to the Capitol like every other day because it's kind of interesting is that the Senate has a hybrid program, which means they go virtual, but also you can go in and sit in the committee room and listen to what they're saying. And the House just has virtual. So the only way you can really view the action is by going on the internet and through their websites, YouTube usually, and watch and see what they're doing. So it takes some getting used to all this technology, but it all in all has not been bad. I think it's going to make things a lot more flexible once the COVID goes away and they have an opportunity to analyze and see, well, how can we use this newfound Zoom programming and technology and stuff, and so people don't have to drive down from Grand Rapids and Roseau. They can get on the internet. I know I had a couple of one of my clients folks was from Roseau, and he called in and did a Zoom and did a very good job testifying, and it worked just fine. So that was great. Saved hours and hours of time plus the expense of driving down and back. So anyway, things are going to be changing, that's for sure, and things have changed. The pandemic has seen to that, and not always good. I'll tell you, sometimes I was telling my Peg this morning, my wife, that you feel somewhat disconnected when you can't be up there sitting on top of them like you normally are. But then everybody's in the same position, so I guess that's the way it is. So hopefully next year's session's going to and biennium will be a lot better in terms of being able to maintain that contact, with our legislators and stuff. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Let me see if there's anything else I should mention. I think those are the big items. I guess I want to wish you all a nice weekend, because it looks like we're going to have a quiet weekend here, which is somewhat unfortunate. I hate to say, because that time is really critical. But I also understand they've got the politics as part of their world as well, and they've got to do that. So, and I've been there and done that. So anyway, so with that, I'm going to sign off and wish you all well. Thank you very much.